Okay, so I'm tired. Alright, I'm just... 4 weeks ago, I made a video about how, MoPOP was closing their Nirvana exhibit, and I was really upset about that, and I didn't know what their plans were going to be, because it was 4 weeks ago. Well, we're here now, so we're going to find out, what's going on. Ever since Kurt tragically died in 1994, Seattle has become a pilgrimage site for generations of Nirvana fans to come and celebrate the iconic grunge band. There's the Kurt Cobain bench in Nirvana Park. That's where Kurt used to sleep. There's the Central Saloon, which is where Nirvana played their first ever Seattle gig. And then there was also, Nirvana's MoPOP exhibit called Nirvana Taking Punk to the Masses. It was the long-running exhibit dived deep into the history of the band, mapping out the influences for the band and featuring artifacts like broken guitars and handwritten letters and Kurt's sweaters. But after nearly 15 years, they closed the exhibit on September 7th. It first opened in 2011, and MoPOP was known back then as the EMP Museum. Taking Punk to the Masses has welcomed thousands of visitors, and although the show has moved from MoPOP's main exhibition room to a smaller gallery, and items have been swapped over the years, it's remained a beacon for Nirvana heads and one of MoPOP's most beloved fixtures. So the question that I asked myself 4 years ago that is finally getting an answer is, why close it? Well, according to Jacob McMurray, Chief Collections and Exhibitations Officer at MoPOP and MoPOP CEO Michelle Y. Smith, the decision was threefold. Of the hundreds of objects included in the exhibit, many were on loan from private collectors, and the band members themselves, and photographers, or others who wanted those items back. And additionally, there were other spatial and financial challenges at play with keeping one exhibit open for almost a decade and a half. Michelle Smith noted that the change also reflected the stewardship of MoPOP's mission. As a museum, we must evolve. Audiences change, new stories need to be told, and there is a responsibility to present a broader and more inclusive narrative of Pacific Northwest music. However, the closing of Taking Punk to the Masses doesn't mean that there's no more Nirvana at the MoPOP, McMurray emphasized that the grunge icons are still central to the museum's essence. Nirvana is part of our DNA, he said. It's never gonna go away. The show's seeds trace back to the late aughts of when McMurray, who has been involved with MoPOP since initial development began in 1994, wanted to pull together an exhibit honoring the band that brought a huge media spotlight to Seattle. Though the museum itself had already over thousands of items relating to Nirvana in its permanent collection, I already said before, but after meeting with, Chris Novoselic, the band's bassist and co-member, he did co-found the band, McMurray thought it would be crucial to incorporate as broad a context as possible in telling the group's story. That meant gaining the trust of Nirvana's friends and fans to source interviews and artifacts. We had every reason to fail in this as the big corporate museum making this exhibit and the story. I really wanted to make sure that as much as we could, we told that story from primary sources, really working with different lenders to get their material here. Over 2 years, McMurray amassed over 20 lenders for the exhibit, who loaned out items like fan club form letters, candid photographs, even the set list from MTV Unplugged from 1993. And in one poignant story, McMurray recalled speaking with Nate Sluskarenko of bands like Sprinkler and Sved, who offered up a fragment of a guitar that Kurt had smashed up during a 1990 concert in Pine Street Theater in Portland, and McMurray almost passed up on the offer until he realized that the guitar fragment that the guy had matched another fragment that the MoPOP received from a different lender. Both of those people were in the audience of the show. They didn't know each other, but when Kurt smashed that guitar and threw it out to the audience, both those people grabbed the different halves, he said. It was only reunited when the exhibit opened. Well, these were lots of full circle moments in curating Taking Punk to the Masses. McMurray had also had to sort out some weird offerings. Someone claimed to have a microwave that belonged to Kurt and the Chi Devil, and someone said they had a plaster cast of Kurt's dead hands. Luckily, McMurray felt it was important to make the exhibit make it not a shrine of Kurt, nor focus on the tragedy of the band, but instead encapsulate what made them unique. These guys didn't come from a lot of opportunity, but with a lot of talent, luck, and ambition, they became the biggest band in the world of time, or for a time, not of time, he said. To me, what was exciting is that we could use this exhibit to be inspirational to visitors, to have kids come in here and go well, maybe I could be in a band, put out a design, put out a record, or be creative in whatever way. For Near Coasley Mayer, a longtime MoPOP museum guide, he got to see up-close and personal reactions from visitors and Nirvana acolytes alike. Their music speaks to humanity's deepest concerns and struggles, he said of the band's impact. In the days leading up to the exhibit's closure, Cosley Mayer said there was deeper meaning in talking about the show. In every single tour, I always reached that point where I had to talk about losing Kurt, and it was never easy to do, he said. So in those last few tours, we all knew, that we were saying goodbye to this unique and marvelous testament to this beautiful band. So, I just yapped a lot, but now I really want to know what their plan is, because I really want to know what they're going to do with all this stuff. So, as for what's next, McMurray and the MoPOP team still want an element of the P and W music scene in the museum, and there will be a new Northwest music exhibit opening next year, which will bring together 15 to 20 vignettes about Seattle musicians, movements, and moments. Think like Sir Mix-a-Lot and Richard Berry's Louie Louie, Jackson Street Jazz, and other artists whose stories are important to the scene, but might not be as well known. Nirvana will still be included in the show, according to McMurray, so thank God for that. Though saying goodbye to taking punk to the masses was difficult, to Cosley Mayer, it's all in the same. Kurt picked Nirvana's name very purposely. To paraphrase him, Buddhist practice is a path to liberation, a way of letting go of those things that hurt us, and punk rock is another kind of path to liberation, another way to let go of the stuff that drags us down. We no longer have Kurt, and now we no longer have this exhibit, but we still have Nirvana's body of work, and we still have rock and roll. That's the whole video. It's the update I wanted to give. Oh, the screen went black for a minute. Okay, there's the shoe people. Alright, this was the update I wanted to give. I was like, oh, they finally updated it, whoop-de-doo. I'm glad they did. I love the Nirvana, man. I have a box of all the good Nirvana stuff, all the goods. Anyways, I'm sad I never got to see that exhibit. I saw it in the video. Does that count? I saw a video of Chris at the exhibit, and I was like, that's my boy. Anyways, what's the next Halloween video? Disney movie? Yeah, Disney movie. The Scream Team. It's got Kat Dennings and Eric Idle and the guy who voices Oscar and the Proud Family. If that ain't a recipe for a good movie, then I don't know. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. It's 7:09. I'm still tired though.